Self-mastery is simply a set of techniques that you employ to optimize the vessel that you reside in so that you can experience the highest form of your own nature as well as reality. People don't have a life problem. They have an inner management problem.
I'm getting chilled right now. Are you okay?
I'm okay. Well, I feel naked right now.
I feel completely butt naked
I
right
feel
now.
seen.
Even when you achieve success, the lack of self-governance you have turns into self-destruction.
How do you know if you have a problem?
We literally have a supercar with ourselves and we're really struggling to start. The mind can be the greatest servant, but the worst kind of master. When your mind is quiet, when there are no external factors, you're focused on building a relationship with your body.
So it sounds like
Real yoga
is allowing you to make decisions that are going to help build a life that is true to
If
you.
you spend 20 years f***ing your life up, you have to expect to spend 20 years or more getting it back where it needs to be.
Don't be afraid to audit some of your friends who are negative. If you lose that friend, it's okay. At least you're not losing yourself. With your purpose, what is it? Why is Maybe it won't be revealed to you now. It's okay. It'll come to you. A lot of people now, what they're doing is learning how to control the body without learning how to actually read it.
Well, can we process that? I feel
Whoa.
like I just entered a different dimension.
Please elaborate.
Deficiency that you lack tends to show up in your hair and nails. You have moons on your nails. In a country like US, people are drinking coffee constantly, which is a lot of preservatives, a lot of sugar in the food that you eat.
You think hair has sugar? I'm sorry.
I start my day with the intention. I decide this is how my day is going to
How
go.
many people do that?
I know I'm going to start doing it though. Hey, I'm sorry. So
Go ahead.
But I would. I'm sorry. I have to. But.
How do you allow yourself to connect with people?
But also, how do you disconnect when you need to as well?
So this is our first time recording in a studio
Yeah.
with a guest. Up until this point, we've been recording maybe 3, 4, 5 different episodes together. And we said, you know what? There's only so much of us that people can enjoy. We said, why don't we find someone who is not just interesting and has a lot of amazing experience, but has got really good energy.
Oh,
Because that's a big part of the show. Someone who embodies what it is that they share with the world and who can be an example, not just for you guys, but for us as well, so that we can keep sharpening our tools and learning and growing together.
and I'm a witness to this beautiful queen's energy because of how we met. Shout out to Lifetime for the beautiful studio that they're allowing us to use today. The perks of membership. So don't get used to this.
Right.
You're going to pop up in many places, but right today we were Lifetime. I was in Lifetime Sky. I was walking into the sauna as I always do. And as I walked in the sauna, I remember feeling like this burst of wind energy. I'm very sensitive to people and I get tingles down my spine. I just like spidey senses is the best way I can describe it. I didn't see her, but I felt her. And then something made me turn and look. And this peaceful being was just sitting there with her white towel, her hair up, and not even paying attention to anything, just focused. And I believe she were meditating or just thinking. And I was like drawn to her and didn't know why. I didn't say anything, but I just sat down, had a conversation with the brothers and different people in the sauna. I forgot exactly what we were talking about, but whatever it was, it triggered you to respond, to say something to us, which blew us all away. And I was like, oh my God, she's brilliant. Not only just her presence, but she was beautiful. She was brilliant, so eloquent. And I said, I need to know this woman. I need to speak with her outside of here. I don't know how this is going to happen. But she was, Immpana was so receptive to just being kind and opening her heart to everyone in the sauna, but to me as well, and to my brother Sergio. So welcome, and thank you for just joining us and being a part of the show. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful and kind introduction. I could not have done it better myself. And just to hear the things, the adjectives that you used to describe me, that has taken a long time to get there. It's a lot of discipline to feel that way, to know those techniques, to gain that knowledge. And I'm just so humbled that I have been able to do that and privileged to be able to do that at a fairly younger age. And it has opened up my world to such a high form of reality. And I'm excited to talk more about those things today.
Younger age. She looks so young, like, you know what I mean?
I just look young.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we don't ages. You're glowing.
yeah.
And it's something that you can tell it takes work. Again, like I told you too, the way you were sitting, your presence, it just showed that you were working on yourself, and you were there with us, but you weren't, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
you were floating above us in the craziest cool way. So, you want to start?
I was like, where were you?
In the sauna.
But like, I mean,
Where was I?
yeah.
I spend a lot of time in my head and a lot of time with myself. Usually I like to focus on a topic. If it's a topic that I like, I want to know why I like it. What are the different categories that I like about that topic and subcategories? I like to go deep into it. It just feels like it adds so much depth to my character and my interests. And what it's really doing, it's revealing so many layers of who I am. And that just gets me excited so much more and more. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know I liked, heavy metal. I didn't know I liked classical music. Oh my God, I'm such a fun person to be around. I like so many varieties. That means I get to talk to this person. Oh, I need to talk to that person about this topic. So it's just like I focus on certain thoughts, and actions for those thoughts start to come. When your mind, body, and soul and spirit is all aligned, ideas and stuff like that start to come. So I spend a lot of time focusing on the topics that interest me and about myself.
What would you say is the umbrella of all these different pieces that, kind of make up who you are and what you do?
The biggest overarching topic is the art of self-mastery. Self-mastery is simply set of techniques that you employ to optimize the vessel that you reside in so that you can experience the highest form of your own nature as well as reality, so that you can show up better not only for yourself but also in the world. Why this matters is because people don't have a life problem. They have an inner management problem, right? And the areas that you need to look at that is mind, body, energy, rituals that you have, community, and your purpose. What happens is when they have this inner management problem, their energy is leaking, they're not consistent in their practices, their mind is running them, and this all reflects on their relationships.
Well, I'm getting chilled right now. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm just like, how long has she been peeking into my life window?
Right?
Like, it's almost disrespectful. I feel naked right now.
I feel completely butt naked.
I feel seen, but continue, Queen.
Wow.
This is important, especially in this society that we live in that is so capitalistic in nature, that rewards speed, performance, and external validation. You forget to learn how to sit with yourself. You do not know how to control your energy, and you do not show up in your relationships better. And why that matters is even when you achieve success, the lack of self-governance you have turns into self-destruction. So that's why this self-mastery is important. Self-mastery is simply the art of disciplined alignment of all of these different areas that I just spoke about.
Hey, hold on. Did y'all hear what she said? The lack of self-governance is the what?
Leads to self-destruction, even
Jewel.
with success.
A jewel was dropped. I hope you're paying attention to that. Continue, brother.
How do you know if you have a problem?
Well, that's why I've laid down in a structured problem, right? I would love to look at all of these areas. I'm a very structured person. I'm a very logical person. I can be very creative or like emotional, but sometimes I also switch gears into logical and structural way, and you have to be able to learn to do that. The one thing that helped me to understand how do I know what kind of problem I have in which areas of life was that I started thinking of this body as like a biomechanical machine. We literally have a supercar with ourselves, and we're really struggling to start it, let alone racing on the German Autobahn, right? When I laid out those categories of mind, body, energy, rituals, connections, and purpose, they're all interconnected in their own way. So let's talk about the mind first. When you look at the mind, for context and background, I'm a traditionally trained yoga teacher. We had strict methodologies and discipline. I'm trained in Ashtanga style of yoga in Mysore. And when we look at this modern day view of the mind, everyone talks about mindset, positivity, confidence. But in old yogic traditions, it was much deeper. They looked at the mind as something to be studied, disciplined, purified, as well as ultimately transcended. They talk about how the mind can be the greatest servant, but the worst kind of master. When they look at the mind, one of the biggest things that has been such a big difference in my life has been meditation practices. When they talk about the mind, they talk about the mind is like the lake, and the thoughts that you have are the waves forming on the lake.
Yeah.
And you want to learn to stop those external thoughts, those external waves, so that when the lake is still, you can look at the ground clearly. That's what you want. And the categories of meditation in our traditions that we have is one called pratyahara. That means taking out these external stimulation, like looking at your phone and using other things to not feel distracted. First is the pratyahara. You want to get rid of those external waves for the mind lake. The second one is dharana, to learning how to concentrate, rip your mind into like, you have to concentrate on this thing. They have like different practices, like looking at an object and just focusing on that, teaching your mind to like, you need to focus, giving it instructions like, let's focus. And then you get into the real meditation that's called dhyana. Like, okay, we don't have external factors. We are able to concentrate. How do we do this for a longer period of time?
How did you get introduced to these different concepts in the first place?
It was all thanks to my parents. They're very hyper-focused on a healthy lifestyle. They talk about how health is wealth. They drilled that into my head at a very young age. My father especially, and even my entire family lineage, we are deeply involved in learning these things from like yoga, Ayurveda and everything. So I've been doing yoga from a very young age of 5. And at the age of 20, I decided to become a yoga teacher. And that's when I practiced with someone in Mysore.
In 15 years of doing yoga, is there something that you notice that most people miss or kind of do wrong?
At that time, I didn't realize, but what felt out of alignment was when I came here and saw how yoga was done in the US. Most of the yoga practices or yoga classes here are aerobics inspired by yoga at best. And one of the things that bothered me the most was like hip-hop yoga and things like that.
Hip-hop yoga? What is hip-hop yoga?
Yeah.
Just another type of label to sell something, in my opinion.
Yes. Do I want the entire world to know about yoga? Yes, I do want to, but there's an element of respect, but also the disservice that you're doing to people. There's a reason why yoga is practiced in silence or with music that is coded specifically for that pose when you're doing that pose. Yoga focuses on strengthening your spine. It almost sees the limbs as extra because the spine is where the main energy channel flows. And second is when they talk about chakras, they're not talking about random energy points. Those chakra points are actually points of endocrine glands in your body, from your pituitary gland to pineal gland. They actually correlate to chakra points. So when you're doing chakras, what you're doing is stimulating those organs, those glands, so that your hormones are balanced so that you can be more of yourself.
Wow, this is interesting on so many levels, because as much as I've always wanted to practice and get into yoga, whenever I would walk into one of the classrooms or one of the studios, the disconnect for me was I didn't feel like I was getting what I came for.
Yeah.
I would be relaxed, but it would be a relaxed to the point where I would just fall asleep in the class and then it would wake me up at the end, and I didn't do any posing or anything like that. I didn't feel that spiritual connection that I thought was what came with the yoga, and I didn't feel like I was being taught how to go through the process properly so that it could really be effective for me. I think that's a disconnect that so many people do have with traditional yoga that is here in the U.S. versus what it's really supposed to be, which is what you're explaining, which is the experience I'm looking for.
And when you add that element of music too, when you're stimulating those different glands, adding something that is so high energy messes with that alignment that you're trying to do. It's very subtle, and that's important. When someone says XYZ thing, but they actually mean something else, that's the subtlety that you're missing, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Yes, you're doing those poses, but you're missing the subtle effects these poses will have when you add that external music. So that understanding comes from years and years of practice and being in that culture and showing respect. And there's a reason why certain things are done certain way. There was a reason back in the day when you were going to learn yoga, you had to train with one master for several years. And if I went to one class, even a minute late at 5:30 a.m., they would push my training session by a month. They're like, you're not ready. You couldn't even show up on time. You're a minute late. They were so strict.
What's the importance of that?
It builds discipline. Now I'm of the mindset, like, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. That is the kind of mentality it builds.
And if you're late?
If you're late, you don't bother.
They're cutting your classes until next month if you're late.
Yeah.
And if you forget altogether, what happens then?
Then you're definitely not ready, and then you need to check yourself. This is beautiful because I realize now that what I'm going to now say is real yoga is really preparing you for life.
Yeah.
To understand that anything worth building or having will take time. I've studied Buddhism in many ways, which is has some yoga-like tendencies, understanding that the process is more important than the actual ending or the beginning, making sure that you're taking the steps and showing that you're dedicated to something and how important it is to you and willing to build and grow with that thing. This is beautiful.
With regard to yoga, because my perspective is shifting on it too. I kind of saw it as like an intense workout, like piece for like 30 minutes, and then you just leave and it's chaos. But it sounds like you're learning principles to connect with your body and take that with you outside of the classroom?
Yes, of course. Because when you stand on a pose for a while, you're building that patience. Second, when your mind is quiet, when there are no external factors, you're focused on building a relationship with your body. And how does that show up? It's like, I know when I'm full, I'm not overeating. I know how my body's reacting when I'm interacting with certain people, and do I feel good or not. That helps me audit myself constantly. I know how this particular food that I'm eating, how it makes me feel.
Whoa. So like, first thing I thought about when you said that is, I call it like my compass, my internal compass, telling me what direction to go in.
Yeah.
And if that compass isn't working, I can find myself to, like you said earlier, doing things that I really don't want to do.
Yeah.
Which is just leading me down a path of inauthenticity.
Yeah.
And becoming something that I believe other people want me to become.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this is allowing you to make decisions that are going to help build a life that is true to you. It's not just about hitting an exercise and stretching, and it's about living a life that's true to you.
Yeah.
You can enjoy.
But also understanding that you're going to have to do the work. If you spent 20 years fucking your life up, you have to expect to spend 20 years or more fixing it and getting it back where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And hopefully you have time to get back to a point where you are established. But at least if you have made that transition and started to go in the right direction, you're on your way.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a journey. And most people quit along the way because they didn't realize it's going to have to take the same amount of work of hurting yourself to fix yourself.
And speaking of the work, what is the work?
People, I think especially in this day and age, don't have the patience of even learning what the work is. And even when the work comes up, it's easier to find comfort in laziness and distraction than facing the truth.
Can you please take your foot off my shoe? It's just stepped on my toe.
Those are long legs.
The other thing is also, you have to understand when you do the work, it doesn't just add up, it also compounds. As you're like refining yourself, which is what self-mastery is about, you'll start to see those changes. And people need to understand, they don't need to see an immediate change right away. if they can start building confidence in the small, small changes and acknowledge and be grateful for that, that's when like people get motivated to do that kind of work. But
what are some of the small changes? I can imagine a lot of people listening to this maybe have never done yoga before
yeah,
or had a similar perspective to us.
yeah.
What are some of those small changes and small wins that can set the foundation?
If you're going to work out, like be patient for 3 months, right? Like you're going to see some change. Don't be afraid to audit some of your friends who are negative. It's okay. If you lose that friend, it's okay. At least you're not losing yourself. And so you'll find people who are more aligned with you. Then you start to build that community more. If you can't sit for like 30 minutes, sit for 5. Start building that practice. With your purpose, what is it? Why is it? Maybe it won't be revealed to you now. For me, it was revealed to me after 30 years. It's okay. It's okay. It'll come to you. Have that intention. Build the skills that you need to. Make a decision like, I'm going to change. I want better. Once you have that in your thought, in your mind constantly, I want better, your actions will start, okay, drinking still water is probably better for me than drinking cola. And then you'll start to pick up books, start to incorporate more advanced techniques.
I remember when I was talking to you about when I started my fitness journey and the purpose, it was August 15th of 2024. And I made a decision, enough is enough. I'm tired of looking this way, feeling this way. I know it's going to be a journey. That 3 months after was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
I was coming to the gym. I was like, there was a point where I could barely walk up and down the stairs, but nobody knew.
Yeah.
I was in so much physical pain, couldn't get up off the floor. I would have to crawl to the bar and pull myself up. And the ego of a man, just, you're prideful, so you don't want to show those things. After those 3 months, I still didn't see results, but I felt the change starting to happen and that I was doing something effective for me. And then it wasn't until another 6 to 7 months where the first person said to me, wow, you look different. Like, and like other people started to notice, but then I noticed that, okay, I had to make the choice to continue to fight through the mental difficulties of not seeing results that I wanted to see, but realizing that people saw me differently than I saw myself. And sometimes, even though I'm not looking for external validation, people will tell you what they see and see the changes that you're making, which will give you the motivation to push you forward. But you have to still be within yourself and keep that motivation within too. And if I didn't take that journey and make that choice, I never would have met Sergio and I never would have met you. So, you know what I mean? So dedication shows you that if you show up for yourself,
It happens for a reason.
everything happens, and then the other things that you need show up along your journey and help you and bless you like you too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And speaking of dedication and consistency, are there any practical things that you find to be helpful for anybody?
The nature of reality is duality. You always have like a positive voice and you always have a negative voice. You always have a positive mindset and negative mindset. Which one you feed and which one you encourage, which one you water the most is the one that's going to win. So when you told me, oh, someone noticed the change in your body, what I do is like repeat that thought pattern multiple times to motivate myself. And then those positive thought patterns become more and more dominant and more louder.
Are you repeating the what they said in your mind over and over?
Or I'm replaying that. What it does, it also like doesn't give space for negative thought patterns to play itself out. And I hype because in the past, because of my nature of how my body is developed, I was more prone to anxiety. So I was like, okay, if I'm a warrior and I'm always thinking about a negative thought pattern, why can't I shift my mind to think about the positive thought pattern? If I'm a warrior by nature, let me worry about the good things that are happening.
And what makes you a warrior by nature?
So maybe this is a good segue to get into the body topic of self-mastery, right? Body is everything that has to do with sleep, movement, nourishment, sensuality, and everything, right? And vitality. When it came to body, the biggest thing that was taught to me, the science that was taught to me was Ayurveda. Ayurveda is not just a simple wellness system. It teaches us how to live in your body intelligently. A lot of people now, what they're doing is just learning how to control the body without learning how to actually read it. For example,
Well, can we process that?
Whoa.
Give me like 10 seconds with that.
Yeah, I
Can you
had
say that one more time?
People are learning how to control their body without learning how to actually read it.
wow.
I feel like I just entered a different dimension.
Yeah. Please elaborate, Queen. Yes.
Yes, it begins with a simple but a radical idea of how we are also part of nature. A lot of us think that we are separate from nature, and what Ayurveda talks about is like the elements that make up nature also make up us as well. It talks about the 5 main elements in nature. It's fire, water, air, earth, and ether. And how those elements show up in you as a person, it reflects your personality, how you process your food, your mood, everything. Let's talk about what that means. So there's
Before you dive into that, ether, what does ether mean?
space.
Space.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Fair.
They categorize them into 3 doshas. Air and space is vata, fire and water, that is pitta, and then there is earth and water, that is kapha. So let's talk about that a little bit more. First is vata, air and space. What is the nature of air? What is the nature of space? I'm someone who has wind energy that's dominant in me. So it's so interesting that you said that.
What makes you wind energy? Is
Yes. So it shows up in my physiology, in my mood, my behavior, my personality. Someone who has more wind energy dominant in them, their hair is likely to be thinner, frizzier, because the nature of air is like dry, frizzy, moves fast. That's the nature of air. So my hair tends to be thinner, tends to be drier. The solution that they give is like, okay, that means you have to use thicker oils like coconut oil or bringraj oil. You need something that's thicker, castor oil. That's better for you. And because you tend to have thinner hair, why don't you use or eat foods to help grow your hair better and longer, like black sesame seeds and things like that? When we look at the wind energy dominant, it's fast. That's why my thoughts race fast. Because my thoughts race fast, I tend to become a warrior. So to counteract that, that's why I'm hyper focused on I need to control my thoughts. I need to focus on meditation a lot more than someone else. Even my personality, in physiology, the way it shows up is like you're skinnier. I can't sit through a book. Like I can't read like heavy materials. I'm like, just give me bullet points. This is crazy. So that's how, but my eyes, it has dominant energy of the kapha. What does it mean? It's like earth and water. Now let's look at the nature of earth and water. It's slow, right? It's steady, it's flowing. So that means someone with a kapha personality or physiology is like wider built. Then they tend to have the personality of like the minute they wake up, they're slower, they need coffee immediately. It's not just like learning your nature, but also being in harmony with the nature outside.
And it goes back to learning to read the body, because when you read the body, then everything is its own chapter of the book.
Yeah.
And then you decide which parts of your body accompany or go with the different
doshas.
And then you know how to apply or use the body to grow or to become better.
And everything that you're doing also reflects on your body differently. I'll give you an example of the nails. What the food you're eating or deficiency that you lack tends to show up in your hair and nails. So for example, if you see your nails and you have moons on your nails,
then what's a moon?
You have them. The white.
The
white
bottom.
Yeah, at the bottom.
Oh, that's what that's called?
And they're called
I just looked at them and been like, what is that?
Some people have them, some people don't. That means if you have it, you have a higher metabolic activity. I don't have that. So
What does that mean, metabolic activity?
That means you can process food better, faster, than me, right? And so for example, brown rice, right? Everyone talks about like, oh my God, brown rice is so much better. But you can process that better than me. So for me, it would be more undigested. For you, it'll just pass right through your system. You'll see white dots. It can be either zinc or calcium deficiency. You'll see ridges on some people's nails. That's like iron deficiency. I have that. It's a signal like, oh, I need to fix that.
Can learn a lot from nails.
Yeah, because that's technically the output of your body.
You are connecting so many dots for me. There's something I used to say to people, like my mentees and people I work with. Your body is a universe itself. This is the universe that you have to take care of, because within your universe are things that depend on you, the decisions you make, the food you eat, however you nourish your skin. And those things live or die by how you treat it. I always didn't know why I was saying that until you broke it down in a whole nother metaphysical way. Like that is blowing me away, but this is incredible.
She is wind.
She is wind, yes.
Right.
And it's funny that you said, like, when we started talking, that I felt your presence like a wind. And then for you to say that, I'm blown away. But continue.
Yeah. They also look at it in your body holistically. One of the things that when I came here that I noticed, and especially with people falling sick, was like everyone talked about, but I was healthy. I worked out. Like, I don't understand. I'm like, well, that was just one element of your health. You only worked out your muscles. Did you look at your blood? Did you look at your bones? Did you look at the connective tissues? Did you look at the lymph nodes and like the nourishing fluids within your body? What about the fat? Like, so there are like 7 elements that are called 7 dhatus. So they look at the body holistically. The deeper you go into Ayurveda, it's like, I didn't even know these many herbs existed to help ourselves. And this is something that has been experimented on, proved, and been implemented for over 5,000 years. I want everyone to understand this and learn and get to know this more, because you've only touched on just turmeric. It's just the starting point. There's like 5,000 herbs.
I just started taking turmeric pills like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm taking it.
But people do use it as a cure-all for everything and don't realize there's so much more.
Yeah, that's because inflammation is huge in this. It helps with inflammation more than anything. In a country like US, people are drinking coffee constantly, right? Foods with a lot of preservatives. There's a lot of sugar in the food that you eat. So the combination of all of these things, inflammation, sugar.
I think the hair has sugar. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm continuing.
You know what? We're gonna have to do some testing.
Research, yeah.
Those are like prime conditions for cancer to thrive. When I look at Ayurveda, there's down to details of like how to improve your brain power, how to cleanse your liver. The details are very, very in-depth.
Where did this originate from? Like these 7 different elements, not just the study of them, but like how to just the mindfulness, I guess, to them, like incorporating them in daily practices, and being mindful of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if that question makes any sense. Some questions that might not make sense, but
no,
I can pick up where I was going.
How do I condense like 1,000 years of histories into sentences? So back in the day, everything was just like, how do I evolve? How do I improve? That's really is the goal of life. How do I become the next step? What is the next step? Ultimately, how do I become the creator itself? Back in the day, we had sages that meditated on this idea of like, what do I do to improve every aspect of life? What I'm talking about is just an element on this podcast today, but those back in the day, they focused on everything from consciousness to what to wear. There's something called Ayur Vastra that talks about like the right kind of clothes to wear at different points of time, why cotton is more important and why synthetic material, how that affects your energetic field. There are even scriptures on like how to create the kind of child you want, like Garbha Shastra. Like when you have your child, make sure you're not too talkative, because if you're talkative, your child is going to be talkative too.
And those are called principles?
So they were called Vedas.
Veda.
Yes, what the sages did, they meditated on that. They created something, a broader scriptures called Vedas, and they're broken down into 4 main categories: Atharva Veda, Rig Veda, and so on. Those get deep into details of every aspect of your life, down to the smallest details of your life, like beauty rituals, how to transcend your mind, everything.
Are there any rituals that you practice when you're, like, let's say for this episode, for example, that you go through before, during, or even after?
I start my day with the intention. I decide this is how my day is gonna go. So my meditation practice, yeah.
How many people do that?
I mean,
How many people wake up and say, this is how my day is?
I know I'm going to start doing it, though. Yes, please.
I make a decision. I wake up 5:30. That's also very important. They call it the Brahma Muhurta. Actually, it's 1.5 hours before the sunset, and that's where the wind energy is dominant in the world. And because of that, your mind is more receptive to creating new energies and new thought patterns and things like that. When you wake up and you meditate during that time, I have different techniques where, like, I do it for the day, I do it for the next few months, and I do it for the next 5 years. And there's a visualization practice that goes on. So I make a decision. This is how my day is going to go. This is what's going to happen. This is what the result is going to happen. So what happens is you're subconsciously telling your mind, this is how we're going to behave. This is how we're going to act. And when that shows up in your life, it's almost like a reward system. Oh, this went well. We're going to start doing this more often, right? So when you are focusing on positive results, your mind sees that happening. It's like a reward system that happens.
It's a shift.
It's a shift. And at the end of the day, I review how the day went. Did it go accordingly to how I wanted it? And if it didn't, what would I have done? What would I have not done? And then I'll process all those junk emotions that I know don't need, so that I don't carry it on for the next day.
Hey, sorry. So
No, go ahead.
But I would. I'm sorry, I have to.
It's all good.
But
No, go.
that just really sets you up to understand that perspective is everything in so many ways. And
Yeah.
by starting your day like that, it now makes me see that even if something quote unquote bad happens in a day, I don't see that thing as bad now. I see it as purpose.
Yeah.
What is that moment trying to teach me rather than it being a bad moment? But it's going with the flow of your life. That is actually a brilliant practice. And I better follow that. Stay tuned on that.
And adjacent to that, not only looking at it as a positive, but even giving yourself an opportunity to process. You said you give yourself time to process these things. Is it like 8 p.m. processing time, or like what does that look like?
Actually, yes, it is.
Was it 8 p.m.?
It is 10 p.m. 10 to 10:30. I do take a shower at night, like every night, because I have to cleanse my energy for the day. I also do that after I work out in the morning, but at the end of the day, I cleanse my energy. Some days I even use salt to scrub myself, because the salt in cultures are known to absorb the negative aspects of it. So, and then I pray for like 20 to 30 minutes. I have certain deities that I pray to and certain mantras that I employ. That stills my mind. Once that my mind is stilled, then I go to bed, and that's when I like process. Okay, I calm my body, I calm my mind, and then I focus on how the day went, what happened, what could I have done better.
Are you playing any music or drinking tea when you're doing this?
In the beginning, I used to do it to get to that state of steadiness, but like chamomile was great and things like that. But now I'm because I have this ritual and everything, I don't really need external this thing.
You've kind of found your own
rhythm. It takes time, right? Like it's the same as as you're riding a bicycle. In the beginning, you need that extra set of wheels. Once you don't need it, you can ride on your own. I just have progressed so much further now. I'm have to think back, what did I do in the beginning? But
one of the challenges that I feel like a lot of people who are really passionate about what they do miss, including myself, remembering what it felt like to just break into the space.
Yeah.
Like how much one simple concept to us now was completely life-changing and shifting. What was that for you?
Oh, wow. Good segue to ritual section.
Yeah.
When we talk about rituals and sadhana, as they call it, these are set of practices that you take on to refine yourself. For me, because my parents were so hyper-focused on health. My mom was a doctor. My dad was a commissioner of police. Like, they led a very disciplined life. I kind of took that for granted. And when I moved to the U.S., that stability or structure was not there. So I had to figure out things on my own. What happened was, like, I took the system and structures that was in place a little bit granted because I didn't know it, because it was such a sudden shift that I had to do. And I was coming to a new country and I had to learn these different traditions and rules, and it's complete 180 of the place that I came from. I did not focus that much on the rituals and practice. What on paper I was doing great. I was working at a hedge fund. I was going to an Ivy League school. But internally, I was burnt out. I hated the food that I was eating. When I went to bed, I just wanted to go to bed. I didn't want to have 10,000 thoughts racing constantly, and it was absolute torture for me.
What were some of the reoccurring thoughts that you had?
Oh, it was just like, I need to send this email. I need to do this PowerPoint. I have to do this. I have to do this. And it was constantly. One of the radical thought, it was like, okay, I have to send this email, but that is for 9 a.m. Immpana to do it, not the 10 p.m. Immpana of today. That's the 9 a.m. Immpana to do it tomorrow. I was learning to time box. That kind of became a practice. Okay, I'm going to time it and I'm going to process it. And then as I started time boxing things, I started building rituals like, okay, something bad happened. I'm going to process it at this time. Okay. Was it a sad thing that happened? Okay, great. If it was a sad thing, listen to all the sad songs, get it out of your system, process those emotions, and then at 10 p.m. we're going to bed. Right? What helped in preventing those negative things from flowing over to the next day or like to other areas of life. And I processed it at this time. And if there was an action, what was that action? Let's do it and get it out of the system. My whole life became like that, to like minimize the negative aspects of my life so that I can focus more on the positive aspects, because I just wanted to have fun. There's a limited amount of time. Like, I just wanted to have fun, get the most out of my life and be happy.
You're not denying that the bad times or missteps don't exist, but managing those things and putting them where they need to be and focusing on the good, how you cultivate the energy and where you're fertilizing yourself is what is important. We're not in denial that the bad doesn't happen or that mistakes won't happen, but you learn to deal with them better by how you process and how you build yourself, your character, and everything around you.
And even the rituals that you have, right? There are different categories of ritual. There's the physical rituals, like, oh, okay, I'm going to the gym every day. That means something. Right now, I'm fasting. Why am I doing that? Culturally, there's something called Chaitra Navratri. You're meant to fast. But scientifically, why do we do that is to realign your digestive system for the seasonal transition. Because there's enough scientific studies to show that seasonal transition affects your physiology. So when you fast, you're cleansing your system to improve the insulin sensitivity, to help you manage that weight as the season changes and as your diet changes for the season. So there's the physical rituals, there's the energetic rituals, there's mind rituals, there's rituals of like learning every day. What are you learning? What are you focusing on learning? Like you guys talked about, like learning is an everyday process. Like what kind of learning are you doing? And then there's the aspect of service rituals, how you're giving back to the community, how that helps you and your soul. So there are different kinds of rituals that you can take part.
What kind of learning are most people in the U.S. not doing today?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
That's loaded.
No, that is a very loaded
I think that's a long list, and I can start with me.
I think the knowledge, I spoke about this earlier, the way I see U.S. is like a teenager in the development of all the nations, right? Like you have to understand it's a younger nation. It's only 250 so years old. When you look at a nation like India, it's a sage. And being a teenager is a great thing. You're taking risks that other nations wouldn't be able to do. And because you're in that phase, you have to learn. And you are learning from different parts of the world, right? You're learning about what rituals that you can incorporate. When US started showcasing yoga more, it impacted India more. It's important because I see US as like a global nation where, like, even when I was in India, the media spread through the entire world. Like, I was watching Oscars, I was watching Friends from the US, but not a single content from my neighboring countries like Sri Lanka or China or anyone. That's the power of the US, to learn and showcase the best of everything to the world. Learn from what the world has to offer. Learn from India. The depth of knowledge is immense. It's not meant to be religious or anything. It's really meant for the development of an evolution of humanity.
And this is one of the reasons why I tell people they need to travel more. Just touch other cultures, touch the soil, see the people. And even if you can't travel, just look into your circle of friends, people in your community, the family that lives down the street, the people that you can tap into and just learn about their culture.
Yeah.
Because that's what has blessed me through my entire life is, and one of the things I love about New York specifically is that we are a melting pot, and so many beautiful people we have 3 different cultures right here.
Yeah.
And I've already learned so much from the 2 of you, but just imagine if people tapped into their community, what they could learn from the lady at the grocery store, the woman at the, the Chinese market. Funny enough, the lady at the Chinese market downstairs from my apartment, she treats me like her son when I come into a restaurant, and she cooks for the people. She's like, no, I'm going to cook for you like you're my family.
Yeah.
And that's because I built that rapport with her. And then she teaches me what vegetables are good for this, what herbs I should have.
Yeah.
And again, it's just from being tapped in.
Yeah, 100%.
Connection with people. How do you allow yourself to connect with people? Is there any practical exercises you do, or because you seem very self-aware, physically and emotionally as well?
Yeah.
How
can people start to do more of that so they can have better connections?
And I'm going to add something to what he's saying too.
Yeah.
That exactly what he said, but also what I know, which is what I learned from you. How do you connect, but also how do you disconnect when you need to as well?
Oh, wow.
Because that's very important.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's really good.
Connection and community is where self-mastery stops becoming a theory. It becomes how it starts to reflect how in your relationships and how you're living it. When I look at different people, I always go with a mindset of like, oh, that is a life that I have not lived. Let me go and learn. Let me just ask simple questions. Let me ask what they're about. Growing up, I knew my neighbors. I knew everything. Everyone was in everyone's business all the time, sometimes to the detriment of myself. But like, I did not need you to know I wore a blue dress today. I did not need that comment. But I found that to be lacking here in the US because it's such an individualistic society. When I'm connecting to people, I've noticed with the intention I show up, people tend to reflect that as well. And that was the biggest thing. Because in New York, where everyone's so mean and like closed off, that comes off. If I started showing people love, they showed that back to me. And what I need people to understand is that just because you're nice or you're showing love doesn't mean you're giving away your love. I hope you understand that you're also experiencing love at the same time. So I just started with simple acts of like, I'm going to make some food for the concierge guys, because like, why not? Like, I made extra food. I'm going to go down and take it down to them, and I'm going to talk to them. It's simple acts of like saying hello with a smile, right? Like, and they respond like, oh my God, okay, this person is nice. Like, I'm going to talk to them. It's about like, how am I connecting with this person? Am I feeling more of myself, or am I feeling less of myself? How my nervous system is reacting to that person. Even if someone is not in the same a field of emotion as you are, but if you go in with that positive emotion, that's when you tend to shift theirs into your field as well.
And why do you think that happens? Why does theirs shift into your field?
I think it's also because you don't expect someone to be nice right away, which is the strangest thing to me. Like, you don't expect a positive this thing. I've been around so many people that I've just been like, okay, how can I help you? They're like, but why? What do you want?
Yes.
I'm like, nothing. Like, I'm like, no, because like making you happy makes me happy. And they're just so confused. Like, even if they don't help you or do anything back to you, the love and everything that you gave will come back to you. Always comes back. And I guess I do it selfishly for myself.
And that's a good reason to be selfish. 'Cause that's the same reason why people ask me why I'm so happy, why I'm always smiling and hugging people. But it literally gives me joy.
Yeah.
And even when someone kind of, because I've said hello to people who have been shut off.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I go, you know what? They didn't receive it in this moment, but when they go home, they'll remember it.
Yeah.
They'll carry that with them. I've done that too, where I've not been in the best mood and somebody said, I'm like, ma humbug, and I'm like, no, I don't want to receive that right now. But when I got home, I was like, why did I do that? Like, that's not me, you know what I mean? And then it absorbs and it did change my mood later.
And you talked about how to disconnect also, right?
And the importance of it too.
So when it comes to disconnection, it's important, and how to recognize it and how to do it and what kind of mindset. When I talked about community portion of self-mastery, that's where self-mastery stops becoming a theory and starts showing up in the relationships that you have. If someone who's not processed their negative emotions, like, you can tell, like, versus someone who's mastered themselves, you can tell when a woman is making negative comments that she's just insecure. You can tell when a man surrounds himself with women, he just needs an ego boost. So you can tell, people who mastered themselves can tell. When you're interacting with someone and they project that negativeness or the negative aspect of those emotions, one, you have to understand it's not a reflection of your character. Two, the standard of behavior that they have displayed does not warrant the standard of response that I'm going to have. So you set yourself apart, and like, my standards are different. So, and you distance yourself. You just nod, smile, and say thank you, and you distance yourself a little bit. If they keep pulling you, which they want a reaction out of you, just say, okay, thank you. Simple words. There's a fine line, especially when it comes to all kinds of relationship, friends, dating, and everything. I see so many gurus that say, like, okay, this is a red flag, this is a trigger, like, walk away, done. But there's a fine line of, like, working with that person, helping them along the way, but also like learning when to step away. Have I been in situations where I've like worked with these negative emotions? Have they hurt me? Yes. But I know how to process those things to the point where I get to a point within 24 to 48 hours that it does not affect me anymore. And then when it starts to become dangerous, that's when I take a step back and say, I wish you well. So that's
that can get like sticky. I feel like, knowing when to step away, especially when you're helping someone and you know that they're receiving, what you're sharing with them well, and they're learning. It can be hard to step away because you don't want to hurt the person, and want them to feel, you want them to feel supported, but how do you know whether or not stepping away is something that's helping them versus something that may be harming them?
Can I say something on that? What you're both saying, it takes me back to a friend of mine. I understood it, but I understand the situation better now with what you just said. Shout out to my brother Elliot Carlisle, who's going to be another guest later on. We were at an event. There was a person there who was drunk, belligerent, who was a former friend. When he saw us come into the event, he made a straight line directly towards us, specifically Elliot, and just was like in his face, just argumentative. And I know the old Elliot, and like I know the old version of myself, who would have been ready to like square up and throw hands. But I'll never forget Elliot's reaction which was, to me, was a master class in how to take someone's energy, almost like, I forgot, in like certain martial arts where they say you use people's momentum against them.
Yeah.
And he literally stopped, and he's leaned back, and then he looked at him.
Mm.
And then he had shades on in his hat, and then the guy just keeps getting in his face and gets more belligerent. And then Elliot just tilts his head.
Mm.
And then he lets him go. And it goes on for like 15 minutes. And I'm genuinely impressed with Elliot, because I'm like, bro, you did not knock him out.
Yeah.
By the end of it, the guy just, as he kept arguing, he just kept getting defeated more and more. Just like his energy just dropping to the point where, and I was like, wow. I said, yeah, what I now see is Elliot was just the mirror, allowing this person to see themselves.
Yeah.
And he was giving him no response.
Yeah.
And just, so he was forced to just deal with everybody seeing you being this belligerent person.
Yeah.
And the person you're talking to is giving you nothing.
Yeah.
But just letting you be.
Yeah.
And letting you see yourself. And then eventually his fire died out.
Yeah.
And I would say by the end of the night, he was trying to apologize to both of us.
Okay.
But there was no need, because it's like we weren't affected by energy.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful moment that was. And I'm so glad you said that the way you did, because it made me see it differently.
Yeah. So exactly, that goes back to the first point I made. Is like, it's not a reflection of my character.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reflection of theirs. And with that, you make a certain kind of peace, and you are able to step away. But to your point of like, when can stepping away be supportive to them versus the other? You can bring a horse to the lake, but you cannot make it drink, right? And
we talked about this, yeah.
Right. So you say that, you do that, and you tell them, and if they're still not listening, you tell them, you know what, that's okay. But if you want to talk, I'm there for you later. But right now, this is what's happening, and this is not okay. But when you hit rock bottom, I'll be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to let them hit rock bottom if they need to. You think about how difficult it is to change yourself. So you cannot change them. It has to come from them. Yeah. You can give them tools and solutions, but you have to let them change themselves.
That's tough. I can feel that for parents who have children who are, not taking care of themselves. That's hard. Maybe they're not ready to not have support. Maybe they need someone to carry them while they can't walk. At what point do you say enough is enough, and you kind of detach and let them learn and figure stuff out? That must be hard for parents taking that step.
And they need to understand that there is love in letting go.
Yeah.
Because when you
love and letting go,
the love and letting go is allowing people to experience life the way they need to experience it. This is coming from a person who I wouldn't say I was controlling, but I was smothering in a way where I loved so hard that I wanted to protect everyone and everybody from everything because of all the things I went through, but not realizing that had I not gone through those things, it wouldn't have made me who I am. And that I can't always protect my friends, my family, my lady, people that I love. You sometimes have to fall, trip, bump your head, get the scrape, because that thing is going to teach you something that I could never teach you, and help you see life in a different way. So you have to let people experience it the way that they need to on their own journey.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree.
It's got to be a shortcut, though. Isn't there like a way to skip all that pain and suffering?
Yes.
There is? Okay.
I mean, it's just like how time boxing and everything. Like, I know my time is, like, everyone's time is finite, right? I always picture, like, I'm on my deathbed and I'm telling my grandchildren's story. And, like, at the end moment, I'm like, before I tell the juicy part of the story, I'm dead. But if I had... Wait,
why that? Wait, that's a recurring, like, how does that come up?
Like, my whole life goal is to have fun stories to tell my grandkids.
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
So if I took care of my health better, then I'll have more time to finish that story.
Okay.
I have 5 more seconds.
An extra 5 seconds.
That's so good. That is so good.
Right?
I'm like picturing that.
Yeah, last thought. shouldn't have had that sandwich.
I know. If I was less sad, I would have had more stories to tell. That's my whole life.
Oh my goodness.
Does that actually, like, would you say that actually helps increase lifespan? Is happiness, like people actually being happy, or what kind of impact does that have on your life?
So there's a difference in being alive and feeling alive. That's the difference that you feel.
So what does feeling alive look like?
That's
a segue into energy part of the section.
You can segue in like segue over here. Yeah.
It's about the ferocity of the life force that is in you, right? In our culture, we talk about prana, like where the life force flows within you. We are nature. We're made up of nature. And when you look at synthetic materials, those are materials that lack the life force. That's the difference between natural versus synthetic. So when I talk about energy, how do I have more of that energy? Let's look at food. If you eat food that is fresh, seasonal, and like organic, the new label for modern day age, there's life force in that food and you're incorporating more of that. Versus if you eat and something else that has preservatives and synthetic materials, yes, technically it's categorized as food, but it also has dead materials. So when you eat that, you are what you eat. So you're adding dead elements to your body, and some of these elements bioaccumulate. And that's why you're like, I'm depressed, but nothing bad is happening in my life. You feel it. You feel that when you eat like purely fresh foods versus processed, because the life force is taken out of those foods, right? And it also comes with breath work too. When you're breathing in and out or breathing in certain ways, it's taking there's a technique that helps you take out excess CO2 in your body, right? And there's breath work that helps like the spinal fluid in your system go faster or activates it better. So that helps the energy channel flow through you. Their energy channels, or nadis, as we call it, are all throughout our body. The foods that you eat, the kind of life that you're living. Are you happier when you're doing certain things? With the people you're interacting, the food that you're eating, how your nervous system is regulated, all shows up. And when I talk about energy, everyone has electromagnetic field that they emit. That expands in nature and contracts in city. So the more expansive it is, the more you are of yourself. It impacts you, like the environments that you grow up in. Growing up, I played a lot with boys. Like I played cricket, I played dodgeball. Girls didn't really play outside as much, and luckily I had the protection of my father. So they were the only ones. So I played a lot, and then I went to engineering school, and then I was working in finance. My energy was dominated by male energy, and it was only in recent times I had to take a step back, isolate myself, and reconnect. And once I realized that there was a dichotomy, I had to learn how to integrate that better. So when I'm in a boardroom, I am fierce and aggressive, because that's the nature of business. I negotiate with people twice my age sometimes, but when I have to work on businesses with people, I am gentler and kinder, because people are what make businesses.
What did that look like early on in life, having that male-dominant masculinity? How did that impact your life?
I didn't realize it at that time. It felt very disharmonious to who I was or who I was meant to be. It can become tough as someone who becomes successful in the world of business. Today, everything is business. And you have to understand the nature of business is masculine in nature. Growth at all costs, conquer, acquisitions. So what started happening was like I started acting more like a man, and then I quickly realized I'm acting like a discount version of a man. And it was tough because I didn't see real life examples of feminine elements being dominant or being used as a strength in the world of business. I felt like Japanese world of business ethics integrated that a little bit more, like focusing on people. And then there were some people, Dan Price, and he was like, you know what, people are what makes the business. Let me focus on improving on that. In the beginning, it felt disharmonious to who I was, and it was uncomfortable for me. And in only recent times where I took time to reevaluate and remap my life and the journey that I was on, it was only then I realized how to integrate both of them.
So we're getting to right now, the top of the hour. We're gonna have to depart soon, so we want to leave the audience with something that you feel like is important. I'm sure a lot of people right now are listening and they're learning a lot. They're shifting their perspective, and they maybe want to start either incorporating yoga or meditation. Want to start using some of the principles that you shared. What do you feel like is important for them to, start doing day one? And then where do you want to go from there, just as far as how you like to put a bow on this?
Taking small steps, just to get to know yourself, right? Like become friends with yourself, build that relationship with yourself. What that'll eventually do is build a certain kind of respect to who you are, showing certain kind of love to who you are, so much that you strengthen your core that none of the external things matter. In the beginning, I started you know what? I'm just going to go have dinner by myself. I'm just going to go on this solo trip with myself. Now I'm just it's so fun.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, it's like,
Do it.
it's like, you're on the road listening to some music in the car that you love and and you're like, oh, I didn't know I liked this song,
What's your favorite solo trip that you've ever taken?
Oh my God, I have so many. The best one that I had was Sedona, Arizona.
I thought
I was not expecting.
How long did you go out for?
For 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
I was not expecting it to be the place it was meant to be. I learned so much about that place. Sometimes I just literally roll the dice and I'm like, where's the most remote place I can go to? I do not want to be bothered by anyone. Sedona, actually, I was at the tail end of my 2-year transformational journey. I had a bit of an awakening in 2021 and I just isolated myself completely from everything because like I said, everything was good on paper, but I felt like my mind was broken and I didn't understand it. And I went on this long journey. I was learning from the Buddhist monks in the Himalayas to neurologists in Colombia, to shamans from Korea, Harvard therapists. And I was just I just want to learn about the mind and rituals and stuff like that. And then Sedona, Arizona, I was at the tail end of it. It was almost like a reward for putting in the work to understand everything about life, about myself and everything. When I went to Sedona, Arizona, I was worshiping this deity. You have to understand in Hindu culture, deities are personifications of forces and energies of the world, right? Mm-hmm. We have 3 main female deities that represent power, wealth, and knowledge. These are the forces that make up the world. And then we have male deities that represent creation, preservance, and destructions. That is the philosophy of man. So that's what they represent. So I'm a girl in finance, of course. I was going to pray to the goddess of wealth. So I had been dedicating my time to that deity, and I wasn't even sure that I needed to make that trip because I was in India prior to that. And as I was on the way to the airport, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go on this trip. And the deity that I was praying to kept popping up. But then I was like, I'm in India. Of course, this deity is going to pop up everywhere. She's all I'm thinking about. She's going to pop. I didn't think much of it. I took that trip. And even at the airport before the gate, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go. Took that trip, came to Arizona, explored the different aspects of it. And again, I was with an indigenous tribe there, and they were teaching me so many different concepts. They made me do a meditation practice, settle my mind. And then they asked me okay, now go out into this plot of land and stand wherever you're drawn to. And I was like, okay. this sounds fun. And I just went and stood there, and they made other people do the same thing as well. And then they were like, okay, come back to me. And they gave me 2 simple copper rods that were in L shape. And they made me like hold it a little loosely and hold it straight, right? Like hold it a little loosely, hold it straight. And then walk to the spot where you were. I was like, okay. And I walked back to that spot. Those copper rods that were like this shifted like this. What does that mean? Why is it shifting? And it happened at every spot everyone was standing. They said that's the point of where there are bodies of water. This is the method that we use to identify, to drill like bodies of water for our tribe. And I was so blown away. And as I was like learning,
You were blown away.
I was blown away.
The wind was blown away.
The wind was blown away. She turned into a storm. And then I was learning. Then they were talking about like different energy points, and I was like, okay, wait, explain to me. Really, what does that mean? In Sedona, that there are beds of quartz in different parts of the area, and the way the water hits creates those energy fields. It's the same as like how like the watch dial uses quartz, right? And it has like energy into it. So when the water hits those quartz bed at different places and different points of those places, it creates an energy field. So when you meditate on those fields, when you're sitting on those fields, it has an impact on your body. It reorients your body. Back to the deity that I was praying, I was like, you know what? Today I will sit, or tomorrow I will sit. I wasn't sure, and I'll pray to her the whole day. I was with the tour guide, and he was like, let's go to a Buddhist temple, monastery. And I was like, wait a second, in Sedona, Arizona, there's a Buddhist monastery. What's going on? So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. And I went and I was looking, maybe I'll meditate here. I was looking at these different spots. There was like this big stupa, Amitabha stupa, and then there was a small stupa. And I was like going around the small stupa, and I was like, you know what? Like the thought, like maybe I'll meditate here. And then I quickly changed my mind, but I didn't vocalize it. And the second that I changed my mind, the tour guide who was with me, he goes, the deity that has this small stupa is the same deity that I was praying to. It was like Goddess Lakshmi that I was praying to. And I was like, there's no way. Like it felt the coincidence of it was. And the day I was drawn to pray was also so important. It was called Uttarayana, and I did not know of this day. It is the day the sun makes northward direction with the perspective of the earth. If you were to photograph the sun every day at the same time, you'll see it to be in a diagonal way. And on that day is when the sun makes the northward direction. And in our culture, that day is very important, and they believe that day is when you're the most receptive to the grace of a deity. And I was like, cheers. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like there are stories of warriors who are wounded in battlefield that wait for this day to die to grasp the grace of the deity, of the different energies of the world.
With your experience and where you are today, if you could go back in time and speak to yourself at a younger age, what age would you be, and what would you say to yourself?
Oh, wow. I feel like in the past, I have wasted a lot of time on things that did not need my attention as much. I did not need to worry so much. When you are focused on worrying or like that's all you're thinking about, you're missing the opportunities that are in front of you. I'm of the fundamental belief that the universe is in constant conversation with you all the time. It was a journey that had to happen, but I wonder like what else could have happened. But I'm still grateful.
Yes.
And happy that I'm here where I am. So.
No. We're happy you're here. We're happy you exist. I'm happy. I'm happy about making decisions, to be intentful with my life. And I know I'm with 2 people who have done the same. And it's a blessing to just be in your orbit.
Yeah.
For you to share this with us. You've enlightened us.
Yeah.
You've helped parts of me personally, and I'm sure Sergio can relate.
Doing things.
You've helped parts of me heal.
Yeah.
Not only was it a beautiful conversation, it was like a therapy session in many ways as well.
Yeah. Oh my.
And just thank you for being so open, honest, and sharing with us your journey. I'm looking forward to more of this.
Yeah.
How can they find you, tap into, learn a little bit more about you outside of the show?
The best way to reach me is via email or my Instagram. I hope you can just show it on the video. But yeah.
Click or check out the screen description.
So I'm open to having conversation with anyone to be a guide to them. Thank you very much for having me and making the space and time to listen to me and my story.
That's a wrap.
More to come.
Subscribe if you guys got any value out of this episode and you're enjoying what you're listening to. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a single episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.
I gotta hug you. Your knowledge is so vast. The only reason I didn't pull out my tambourine because it was too much of a distraction. Did you bring your tambourine? It's in the bag, but I said I'm not doing that because I want to focus completely here. So on the next one, we'll have the tambourine.